Hey, what's up, guys? My name's Stuart Ridgedale, and what I'm going to talk about right now is a little bit more of communication, and this is starting to step up a little bit more, as far as a little bit more, I wouldn't say necessarily advanced, but it's definitely a fundamental aspect of communication as a team and solidifying y'all's communication and awareness. What we're going to talk about is relaying information across the field and relaying information to other players on your team. So I see it all the time. Information doesn't get relayed from one side of the field to the other side of the field. I wouldn't say it's necessarily any one player's fault. I'd say it's everyone's fault. Well, the main player's fault is the one who saw it happen and is making the call. They're the number one person who has to make sure at least one player on their team behind them picked up the information. And I'd even go a step further. You have to make sure that the players across the field are fully aware of what you're trying to relay as well, especially if it's putting them in a vulnerable situation and it's stuff that they really essentially need to know. But this comes with teamwork and chemistry over time of building this stuff to be able to really communicate efficiently across the field and send a message from one side of the field to the other side of the field. Because in this game, so many things are happening simultaneously that it really gets difficult to hear sometimes. Whenever you're trying to shoot, you're shooting your gun, other players are shooting their guns. You can get tunnel vision all the time, but in general, it's y'all's responsibility as a team to effectively communicate with one another. So relaying across the field, say you have a front guy that's really far up the field or even anywhere. They call out a couple positions to the teammates behind them. It's their responsibility to relay that across to the other side of the field. And I wouldn't say it's just their responsibility. It's also the responsibility of the player who made the call to make sure it's relayed across the field. So don't just think because you made the call that necessarily it's no longer your responsibility, because no matter what, your team has to know the information if y'all want to be effective and effectively communicate and consistently win. So in general, whenever I say relaying, typically you have a Dorito side, a center side, and then you have a snake side. So to relay, typically it could be a front player relaying back to a player on his side, and then the information is relayed from the back player over to the center player. The center player relays it over to the snake side of the field. Or it could even be a front player relays it to a center player. The center player relays it to the snake side of the field. It could even be a back player relays all the way over to the snake side of the field, and then for some reason the front side didn't hear it, so the front side of the Dorito side didn't hear it, so the snake side repeats it, and then now the Dorito side hears it. So there's all kinds of relaying that is happening across the field, and there's no really set way to do this, but typically the most efficient way is relaying from one side of the field to the center player, and from the center player over to the opposite side of the field. Obviously, in some situations you might not have a center side of the field, so you have to relay the message just from one player all the way to the other side of the field, from one player to another player. The relaying doesn't necessarily have to be from three players like I was doing, like from the front player to the back player to the other side of the field, or the front player to the center player to the other side of the field. It can just be from one player across the field to another player. But in general, relaying information across the field is essential for good communication, effective communication, and for everybody to be completely aware of what's going on the field. And you have to do this type of stuff, and you have to even clarify and confirm that your teammates heard the information and has accurately interpreted what you've said. So that's a few tips as far as relaying across the field and giving you this information and knowledge as far as how teammates work together to relay information among one another. You have to do this stuff. If you're not doing it as a team, you're missing the mark here. You have to get together and talk about this stuff if you're not relaying information, and why is the chain of communication being broken. But that's just a little bit of information for you. I want y'all to have relaying codes across the field is essential. I have more videos on communication in general. I want you to watch all these videos. I have a lot of good information for y'all, especially if you haven't heard it before. I appreciate you watching this video. Definitely comment up. Let me know what you have to say. Any feedback you give me, I greatly appreciate it. Any shares that you give me with your friends and Facebook, I really appreciate that as well. That helps me grow and get out to the paintball community. Besides that, guys, I'll definitely see y'all around, and keep on checking out the site.